the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Mr. Gambala notified us that he was going to be absent. Mr. Setlak?
Here.
Is Ms. Smearcheck?
Here.
Mr. Kmetz?
Here.
All right, you have 3 members present for a quorum. Just a reminder that anything you take action on tonight needs to be unanimous, so that you have 3 votes in the affirmative, either way or the other,
All right, thank you.
in order for it to be official action.
Okay. Our next agenda item, approval of the minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the July 21st, 2020 meeting minutes.
Also move.
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Approval's passed. New business, funding for the utility relocation project along the east side of US 41. We just received a change order.
Correct. So I was notified this morning by the project manager that as a result of the work that was being done by previously being done by NIPSCO, I think we notified you that there was going to be some relocation of power lines which had set back our project time-wise. I think I explained that to you at the last meeting. There was some unexpected relocation of power lines by NIPSCO to the eastern edge of the right-of-way, which has caused us to redesign our utility relocation project from its original intended location to a new location farther to the west within the right-of-way. So as a result of that, once all the calculations were done, we were notified by the project manager that there are some different techniques that need to be used in order to connect the point where the new line connects into the old system on both north and south ends, as well as some minor adjustments to some of the storm sewers in that area. And as a result, given the fact that before where the connection occurred was at the lowest point in the system within the project area, it was not necessary to create a bypass pipe basically for the system to continue to operate. But because of the new location farther to the west within the right-of-way, it is necessary, unfortunately, to do what's called bypass pumping, basically essentially attaching a pipe somewhere in the center of the vicinity of the, there's a drive that's just south of a box culvert that's kind of just to the south of the culvers along 41. And there is a point where the new infrastructure that's being installed needs to basically utilize a section of the existing pipe that's there now and go around that box culvert. Because of that location being farther to the west, it's necessary to do that pumping, and to because that's not at the same low level as it would have been had we been able to put the infrastructure where we intended to on the east side of the right-of-way. So as a result, there's some costs associated with that adjustment that needed to be made. And the majority of that has to do with that pumping that I talked about. In addition to that, there is some additional cost associated with making some adjustments to storm sewers for that new location, and then just some other customary costs associated with both of those aspects of the project. So there's the change order that's been put before you tonight that would go, hold on, let me,
So the reason, Craig, for this change order, I mean, why wasn't it on the original proposal?
So the original proposal was for a location that was on the eastern edge of the right-of-way. So that $333,000 and, let's see, let me get the exact numbers here.
$699.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time pulling this up. There we go. Okay, so the $333,699 was the original contract price. That was based on the location that was originally intended on the eastern edge of the right-of-way, which is basically where the current relocation of the NIPSCO poles is, which forces us to move our utilities further west within the right-of-way. The changes that are being requested are a total of $59,852, which would bring the overall total project cost, contract cost to $393,551. There's a spreadsheet attached to the information that I sent you. You'll see items that are listed with parentheses that include basically removing the former actual pipe itself, and then there's also a concrete spillway that doesn't need to be part of the project as a result of that being moved. There was a cost for abandoning the old line. That isn't a factor anymore because there's a new cost for abandoning and putting flowable fill into the line at a certain location due to the sensitivity of other utilities in the vicinity of that. And you'll see the items on the far right column are the additions to the project. So when you take basically all those deletions and all those additions, then the net result is the $59,852. Again, the majority of that is the pumping related, the bypass pumping related to the sanitary sewer because of not being able to be at this low level that we were before. So essentially having, for lack of a better term, almost a mini lift station, if you will, to pump that into that pipe and then around into the new connections.
Is that just temporary while the project's going on?
That's temporary while the project's being constructed, so that we continue to have the service active and uninterrupted during the construction. And then the pumps are removed and the new infrastructure basically becomes active.
And it was the NIPSCO facilities that caused this
Correct.
change order.
Our project manager informed us during the pre-construction meeting with the contractor that NIPSCO had notified them that they were going to be relocating their power lines further east, and they didn't notify the project manager of this prior to that. And so that's caused us to have to redesign the project, and then associated with that are these extra costs, because the majority of that being the pumping that's necessary given the new location. So what's happening essentially is there's going to be a new line installed. In the center of that new line, basically about a third of that new line, there's going to be a utilization of the old pipe, connection to the old pipe, and then back again to the new line. Because of the box culvert that exists, like I said, just south of Culvers, there's a large box culvert right there, which we didn't have to contend with before because the location basically avoided that before, and now we have to deal with that. So there's a need to adjust the project accordingly because of that.
Do you know what the phone line is for?
The phone line
Mm-hmm.
at the site.
Well, I don't know. That's one of the relocate existing phone line.
Oh, AT&T. There's AT&T and Comcast lines on the existing poles that had to be relocated.
What does that have to do with our stuff? Because your
This is
email talks about, a delay on Comcast and everything else. And I'm assuming that's above ground.
I'm looking at this. So where is that listed?
It's the last item. It says,
Number
well, no,
30,
it's not. It's $3,150.
Relocate existing phone line.
number 33 on the spreadsheet.
Honestly, I don't have an answer for you on that. I know about all the other aspects of this project besides that.
Then I look at it, there's not a whole lot being moved around, because the initial one, I think, one spreadsheet had, 1,256 linear feet of 8-inch diameter. I'm assuming that's sanitary line.
Yes,
That's all gone.
correct.
So I don't see any lines being like replaced or moved. It's kind of like you're just playing around at one place and dropping things down.
You got,
I don't know what's really being, I'm kind of losing out on what's being moved or relocated. Other than some stuff right at the intersection and over, under, and everything else. It's not like a long distance.
well, the whole, everything is being shifted. The entire section between 101st and 97th, everything's being shifted farther to the west.
So what about this 1,256? Or, yeah, the 1,260, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. No, it's 1,256 of the 8-inch diameter. I thought, okay, you're pulling something up, you're putting down something new. But that's dropping out.
See, mobilization, engineering, maintenance of traffic, 10-inch tree.
'Cause on the change order, that's one of the reductions for
Installation,
$27,000, is the elimination of that item.
HMA patch.
But it's not, there's nothing going in to replace it.
Vertical spillway. It's all in, well, okay, so the things that are not shown here are included in the original contract amount. So any of the, so there's no change in the cost of the items that don't have a change order extension, but there's a quantity change or something like that. So there's, the original infrastructure would be included in the overall spreadsheet for the project that we had that was 333,000 originally.
I know, and the change order is removing 1,256.
So it's still
linear
in,
feet.
it's still in the original project.
How is that possible when it's being removed by the change order?
Yeah, where did it go?
Well, those items are not shown here, so those are,
No, it's shown. Change order number 1 extension, negative 27,648.
right, but all this totals up to 59,852. So there's an additional $270,000 worth of items that are not shown in this change order.
No, that's on the original. I'm saying you're taking out 1,256 linear feet, but nothing is going in. So the
Oh, well, that's
1,256,
the center section, I'm sorry, so that's the center section. That's the center section that we're talking about. We're using existing, I'm sorry, I wasn't following what you're saying. We're using existing infrastructure for that segment.
so that isn't being relocated.
We're going from, so there's new section, we're connecting to the old section, and then there's a new section again. That 1,256 feet is the center section.
Is that a temporary connection, or is that going to be
It's
permanent?
being removed because we don't need that much pipe, because we're still connecting to the old pipe in that location. Does that make sense?
Well, right, and so I'm,
That's why it's being removed but not being replaced. So the original
saying-
amount is still in the original.
what you're not replacing, though, is not being relocated. It's staying where it is. You're
Only
tying
in,
into it.
only in that 1,200-foot section.
Correct.
So all the other items that are bid items,
So
they're
the
still part of the
distance then from
project?
96 to 101st is reduced by 1,256 linear
Because
feet?
that's the section where we're connecting to the existing infrastructure.
So that's not being relocated.
Like I said, we're switching over to that and
I
then back to.
understand that,
Yeah.
but you're not relocating it. It's staying there, you're tying in at one end and
Correct.
at the other end.
Correct.
But you're not relocating that section.
That segment.
I'd have to look at the original. There's some things that don't make a whole lot of sense, like the phone lines
That I don't know the answer to, that,
Especially since you said AT&T and Comcast and delays
well,
with them.
we're not paying for the relocation of those overhead lines. Those are being done by those utilities, so I don't know, there must be an underground phone line that we're affecting.
Well, I see some of this, I don't know where the responsibility, I don't know where the coordination comes with the various utilities above and below ground about what the various partners in this endeavor need. And who needs to go first, who needs to go second, this sort of thing. It seems to be coming
42
up
feet,
with
so
a lot of
40
things kind of after the fact.
42 feet of phone line.
Well, the unit cost is 72, yeah, it's 42 feet.
42 feet.
42 feet of phone line.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they're doing with it, but anyway.
That could also be phone line, the communications between our lift stations.
Can we get clarification on that?
We can get clarification on that, but for now, we probably should approve that. So if we need to adjust that, come back and adjust that, we can.
I don't like approving it and then hoping it comes back.
I agree with you, Rich. I think there was only one bid on this project, and then when it came up to the change, I asked Craig, is this gonna change the cost of this? He, well, I don't know yet.
I didn't
Why,
know.
if we have a project manager, he should be in charge of this, and there should be communication.
There is.
Well, obviously not, because now we gotta pay $59,000 more. I think that should be split between the people that made the mistakes. We're paying a project engineer to take care of our town.
Well, we can
And
take it-
evidently, this didn't happen.
We can talk to our attorneys and see if we can take it up with those
But
utilities.
I think Mr. Satlick's got a good idea. Let's table it, whatever he wants to do, and figure out how this is gonna get spent and how this town is gonna pay for this. We shouldn't have to pay $59,000 more for something that somebody made a mistake on, not watching somebody working.
That's not what happened.
Well,
As
why
I-
all of a sudden,
As I-
NIPSCO put the poles in, and they shouldn't have put them in where they were. They just did, it's like going into a new house. You got the air conditioner guy, you got the electrician, you got the plumber. They just start taking their territory, and that's what happened here. We have a project manager that should have caught that.
All right, can we back up a little bit before you make assumptions and we have a
Well, it's not an assumption, you can see it.
Well,
It's
let's-
$59,000
okay,
more.
I understand what you're saying, but let's back up a little bit. Okay, so what happened was this project was originally designed in the eastern side of the right-of-way. Along comes NIPSCO without notifying the town that they are relocating their power lines farther to the east than they originally were located. That's no fault of our project manager.
What are we paying them for?
They notified us as soon as they found out that NIPSCO was doing that, they notified us. And that forced us to redesign our project. Now, if we want to take it up with our attorney to see if we can go back after NIPSCO or back after NDOT for not properly informing us, that's one thing, but the reality
But there
is.
should be communication with what they're doing in the town. They can't just go start putting a pole up here and there.
NIPSCO and NDOT did not communicate with us until after.
Well, then
this-
maybe the town attorney should ask and maybe
After
go
this-
after them
so
for this
this-
59,000, or at least pay part of it.
So our project manager did do early communication and coordination on utilities with NDOT and NIPSCO. And at the time they were given the information in order to do their design, they didn't know about NIPSCO relocating those lines. As soon as they were notified that those lines were going to be relocated, they did tell us. And that caused us to have to redesign where we put our infrastructure, our storm and sanitary infrastructure.
Yeah, I have one question. You keep saying our project manager. You mean Grimmer's project manager?
Well, we hired Haas and Associates as the project manager on our behalf for our part of the project.
So we are paying a project manager to represent our interests.
Correct.
Why aren't they here tonight explaining that, if we're paying them? I mean, why should you have to explain all this? We have some legitimate questions.
I asked the project
This
manager.
is not going to be approved
I
tonight.
asked the project manager earlier on the phone today if he would attend, and he was unable to be here this evening.
Well, then, he needs to send a representative. We have legitimate questions, we need legitimate answers. Who is going to be our advocate? How do we know that they're advocating for the town? This is a lot of money, and this is a big change order.
Okay, then I hear what you're saying, and they should be here. And they're gonna have to explain that to the construction company, that there were questions at the sanitary board meeting.
Because we're
They were
acting
able
as,
to unattend, they were able to, unable to attend, and
this is the taxpayers' money that we're dealing with. This isn't our money. This is
course, I understand
our
that.
taxpayers. So we have to be their advocate. Who's being the town's advocate in this project? That's my concern. And getting this email at 10 to 5 tonight,
well, they notified us this morning
well, it's dated August 4th.
that,
The change
Change
order
order
is
was
dated
dated August 4th.
August 4th.
well, the change order is dated August 4th. The email to me was sent this morning.
Okay, well,
The change order starts out by going from the project manager to the construction company and back to the project manager and then to us. That's how that works.
then they need to be aware that things like this, if it's done an hour and 10 minutes before a board meeting, is not acceptable also.
Well, and I guess we could also say that we're going to put this off until next month because
yeah.
we just received this.
And we'd like to hear from Huss as well.
As you can see from the email I sent you, I received this email this morning notifying me
Right.
of this.
That's what your email said, so.
Right. So,
But how long were they sitting on it before they emailed it to you?
like I said, this is not uncommon for communication to go back and forth between the project manager and the construction company before it reaches us.
Okay,
The project manager and the construction company both signed off on it on 8/4.
Like I said, I didn't receive this until this morning, so, I'm fine with you tabling this and taking this up next month. They'll just have to explain to the construction company.
until this is over, I
This is
think
delay.
we need to have the project manager that's representing the town's interests at this meeting.
That's fine, I can ask them to be here.
They don't
And I did
list-
ask for them to be here tonight, and they told me they were unable to attend, so I will follow up with them on that.
They have underlings or
And explain
somebody that
that.
can come.
I asked for that.
Okay,
Like I said, I called them today when I got this email, and
okay.
I wanted to bring it to your attention, so if you're not comfortable taking action on it tonight, I understand, and I support that. So let's have them attend your next meeting and clarify these things for you.
Thank you.
And I can also have them explain why there's a delay as a result. Now, that being said, we're not delaying NIPSCO from finishing the work that they need to do, or the state from starting the work that they need to do, because NIPSCO, because of the storms 2 weeks ago now, had to stop what they were doing with their relocation of their lines, of their power lines, and all hands on deck for the storm damage, and they haven't been able to get back to the relocation of the power lines. So we're not necessarily slowing them down, I think, by waiting to do this. And like Mr. Pondinas said, this is not the town's fault. This is poor communication via the state and NIPSCO that they were relocating these lines. So,
And I personally would hate to see any.
there definitely are some explanations needed, and when you receive information the day of a meeting, I just want to get it in front of you, and if you're not comfortable taking action on it, that's fine. I fully
That
understand.
would be smart.
And yeah, and I don't want to see any town attorneys involved unless we have to, because this town pays enough in attorney fees for everything else they got going on. I hate to line their pockets if it's not necessary.
Okay, I'm just
So
saying,
we
if
have a
we
project
need to look
manager.
into something as to why we weren't informed of something, if we have rights in that regard, that's all I was saying, is if it's something we want to follow up on, we can.
Okay, so can we get a motion to table the approval of the change order?
Also move.
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
I
Motion passes. Reports and correspondence. Wayne? do you-
None, but I want to thank you guys for asking all your questions. I know your heart's in with the town, and I thank you. Because somebody needs to stand up for the residents, and I thank all three of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to payment of the bills. I'd like to have a motion for the payment of the bills for the sanitary district APVs in the amount of $35,893.90.
so
Yeah.
moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval's passed for the payment of $35,893.90. Can I get a motion for the approval of the wastewater APVs in the amount of $480,670.26?
So move.
I will second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I
Motion passes. Public comment?
Good evening, board members. My name is Chris O'Hara, and I live across the street at 10980 West 93rd Avenue, the blue house over here. And I'm coming to you because there's a 10-inch drain that drains onto my property. It's a storm drain. And I was looking to improve my property, but unfortunately I can't because it's causing a significant amount of erosion and damage to the property and the backside of the property. So I had sent an email previously about this, but I'm coming to the board to just make you aware of it. And I'd like to improve my property, but I can't with this drain here. And it's a 10-inch drain, so it causes a significant amount of erosion. So I believe Craig's aware of the issue, and just want to know what can be done, or if it can be looked into to resolve the issue so that I can continue to improve my property.
Have you contacted our Public Works Department?
I have contacted Public Works.
Have they been out?
Yes, they have looked at
And
it.
what was their recommendation?
I have not gotten any information about that. That's why I'm
Can I
coming
address
to you.
that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So he did contact the Public Works Department. The town engineer, the Public Works Director, and myself did visit his property, as well as looked at another drainage issue downstream from that. And the town engineer did put some recommendations together. There were a number of things that we met on that day, did put it together, recommendations on all of that. I asked Mr. O'Hara to appear before you tonight just to make it a part of the record that he's requesting that we specifically take a look at this. Spoke with him on the phone earlier today about that. So I think by him asking you in person to address that concern, we can ask the town engineer to address you at the next meeting and explain what his recommendation is and what actions he's suggesting need to be taken to correct that situation. So he has visited the site along with me and the Public Works Director, like I said, and he has put together at least an initial recommendation on how to handle that. Obviously, I know there are some costs involved in what's being requested, so we would have to look into that. So I can ask him to attend the next sanitary district meeting to explain that to you if you'd like.
Could you do that? Yeah. Can you send us a summary of what his initial recommendations were?
Yeah, I can do that.
Are you okay, sir, with waiting
Yes.
another 4 weeks? Okay.
It's been there a while, so I'm okay with.
Well, if it's the town's responsibility, it will be fixed.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll take a
Okay.
look.
Yeah, so
Thank
because
you.
there was some cost involved in that, I asked him to attend tonight to make an official request to the board.
I just
Yeah.
have a question going back, whether storm drainage is within our purview, based on the sanitary and the waste, basically the sewers, because they're two separate systems.
Right, yeah, we deal basically with sanitary.
Right. Which is closed and goes
That's
to
stormwater.
Cherville and the nasty waste.
Yeah.
Well, you approved the funding for both, and
I don't know where we do that.
some of the wastewater utility money, depending on the situation, may be used for improvements to that situation, depending on the outcome of what the engineer recommends. So
Let's see what
if
he-
it's determined that at the end of the day, there's no need to make any improvements that involve the board, then we can just address those with the city council, but, I mean, sorry, with the town council, but
I thought some of the stuff with the storm drainage, that it ends up going on surface and running down, and we've never really addressed things with storm drainage.
okay.
So it's just a matter of clarification for me. I don't know who directly does that.
Since this gentleman's appeared before the board, we'll wait to hear what the
Yes.
town engineer recommends, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you very
So,
much.
Thank you for taking your time to come.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Appreciate it.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Board. Edward Kahn, 9227 West 91st Court. I would like to thank the Board, Councilman Pondinas, for speaking with objections to the topics that were just covered. And my question is to you, sir, Mr. Town Manager. You come from Michigan City, correct?
Prior to working
Prior
here?
to here.
Correct.
I've been here almost 18 years. I've seen developments all over town. Yet I've never seen the state of Indiana or NIPSCO just show up and start a major projects without communication. So to hear that all of a sudden we have a representative representing our residents that just didn't communicate, that doesn't seem right. So when you have a major project with a major company as NIPSCO and the state of Indiana with all that's been going on within this town for the past few years, to use a reason that there was no communication, I don't think it's right, and I don't believe it. So when we ask for a representative to be here and speak on that behalf, then it should be somebody here, whether you just got an email this morning or you got an email a month ago. Something this serious, the amount of money that's being presented to this town needs to be addressed, and there needs to be somebody that has legitimate answers in front of them. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing there's no other public comment, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Wow, okay. I'll second.
All those in favor? say
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
See, I knew she wouldn't do it.
You-